Hi, Mel here, and in today's video I'll be sharing my recent experience flying in United's Polaris business class. This was not my first time in Polaris, but it was my first time on United's 777-300ER, which is their largest wide-body aircraft. I was looking forward to seeing how it compares to their 767-300, which I flew last year. My flight from Brussels to Washington, D.C. was scheduled to take 8 hours. Based on my time in the sky, what did I think? Was my experience consistent with my earlier Polaris flight? I hope you'll come along with me today to find out, and stick around until the end to learn how much I paid for this flight. Also, if you enjoy this type of content, I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe. And with that out of the way, let's get started. I was recently in Brussels for a fairly brief trip, and before I knew it, it was time to fly back home. My flight was heading to Washington, D.C., where I would be taking a connecting flight to reach Chicago. I arrived at the airport too late to visit the lounge, so after security, I headed straight to my departure gate. I would be flying in United's largest wide-body aircraft, the 777-300ER. The aircraft is divided into 3 classes: Economy with 266 Collins Aspire seats configured 343, 62 of which are Economy Plus with additional legroom; Premium Plus with 24 Collins Aerospace MIQ seats configured 242, and Business Class with 60 Polaris seats based on the Sapphire Optima platform configured in a 1-2-1 configuration. Polaris is divided into 2 cabins. If you're flying solo or you just prefer a window seat, the odd-numbered rows are optimal because they're closer to the window and they provide more privacy than the even rows. If you're flying as a couple, the odd-row middle seats, commonly referred to as honeymoon seats, are best because they're next to each other, and you can lower the dividing partition if you want to chat. As I arrived at the gate, they were already boarding Group 1. So let's head in. As I headed down the jetway, I have to admit I was pretty excited to experience this particular aircraft. There she is, the 777-300ER, ready for the flight. My seat for today's flight is 7A, which is towards the rear of the forward cabin. When I arrived, my seat was set up with the things I'd need for the flight. In front was the Amenity Kit, which we'll look at more closely a bit later. The bedding included a soft, colorful blanket by Saks Fifth Avenue. My very favorite pillow in the sky, United's Cool Gel Memory Foam pillow. A thick white Saks Fifth Avenue blanket. And finally, a full-size soft pillow, again by Saks Fifth Avenue. I moved everything aside to get a closer look at the seat. The headrest is covered in leather and is very easy to adjust for greater comfort and support. In terms of seat belts, there's both a shoulder strap and a traditional lap belt. I settled in and gladly accepted a pair of slippers from the flight attendant. No pajamas for this flight, but if your flight is over 14 hours, make sure you request some. As you can see, I have so much legroom. Since I can't even reach the footwell, I use the top compartment to store my linens. And my shoes fit nicely underneath. Let's take a closer look around. If you have a jacket to hang, there's a hook to the right of the Inflight Entertainment screen. Underneath the screen is the tray table, and right above that is a storage space. To the left is a USB outlet, which makes the storage space a really convenient spot to charge a device. On my right-hand side is a reading light right next to the seat, and a second light near the aisle. There's also a convenient countertop surface and a storage locker. For now, the noise-canceling headphones and a bottle of water are in the locker, but there's plenty of room for personal items you may want to keep nearby. Directly under the storage locker, you'll find the remote for the in-flight entertainment, a universal power outlet and a second USB port, and the headphone jack. Lower down on the right is an armrest and the literature pocket. While everything so far has been great, the next 2 discoveries were disappointing and frankly kind of gross. First, the armrest on the right side is adjustable so that you can move it out of the way when you sleep. When I lowered the armrest, here's what I was met with. It wasn't noticeable when the armrest was up, so I understand how it could be missed by the cleaning crew, but it was pretty disgusting. Then when I pulled out the tray table, there were some dirty, sticky spots. Again, not ideal. But I was prepared with one of the handy antibacterial wipes United always hands out when you board. Problem solved. So let's move on. On my left side are the seat controls. As we'll see later, the wheel light control can be used to make the seat flat or upright. There are also buttons to adjust the leg rest and provide lumbar support. The lamp button operates the lamp near the aisle, and the crescent moon activates a red light when you press it to indicate do not disturb. Looking up, I'm happy to see the individual air vents. United consistently keeps its cabin nice and cool, and I, for one, am really grateful for that. One side note about my seat is that it was closer to the galley than I prefer. It was last-minute booking, and 7A was the best window seat still available at that time, but I recommend booking row 3 or row 5 instead if you have the option. The flight attendant came by offering a pre-departure drink, and I opted for water. I then looked out the window and watched as the final passengers passed through the jet bridge. Before I had a chance to check out the menu or the amenity kit, the safety announcements came on. We must be almost ready for takeoff. I watched as we pulled away from the jet bridge. And minutes later, we were taking off. I knew someone would be coming by soon to take my order, so I studied the menu so I'd be ready. There's an option for an express dinner in case you want to go to sleep quickly. But I opted for the full-size dinner, which comes with a salad, appetizer, entree, and dessert. There were also options for a mid-flight snack or a meal to be served right before arrival. I made my selections for both dinner and the pre-arrival meal. And with that done, I was ready to check out the amenity kit. It comes in this basic black zippered bag. When you unzip it, I like that it has all these separate compartments, and it can lie flat so that you can see everything at once. Let's see what's inside. First, there's a small pen, the perfect size to carry with you. Next, the standard black socks. And a black eye mask. The quilting is a nice touch. Next are a pair of earplugs. And tissues. These are handy too. I usually put them in my purse. A dental kit with toothbrush and toothpaste. And a package of Therabody products. Let's open it up to see what products are in there. Therabody lip balm, hydrating facial mist, a cleansing facial towelette with a light cucumber scent, eye serum, and finally, hand cream. While it isn't the fanciest kit I've ever received, I think the Therabody products are really nice and definitely the highlight of the kit. As we made our way across the UK, dinner service began. Before the food arrived, the flight attendant came by with a hot towel. I love the way United's hot towels smell. Seriously, they're my favorite. Next came warm nuts and water, and not long after, a glass of champagne. For the meal, everyone starts with a Mediterranean salad. I selected the poached asparagus for my appetizer, and the braised beef short rib with mashed potatoes and green beans for my entree. For dessert, I'm sure you're not surprised to learn that I ordered the ice cream sundae. How could I not? To drink, I ordered a glass of champagne, as you saw, and a glass of dessert wine, which was from Portugal. United serves the entire meal all at once on a tray. I thought everything looked pretty good. And I always love the cute salt and pepper shakers. Okay, let's see how everything tastes. Honestly, everything was quite good. So much better than the meal I recently had when flying business class on American Airlines. If you want to see that full review, I'll put a link in the description below. As a side note, I know a lot of people dislike the tray service and would prefer their food to be served course by course. But honestly, I don't really mind. I'm usually hoping to get some sleep, and I think that serving everything at once speeds things up. It's certainly not at the level of the fantastic dining experiences I've had with airlines like Qatar or Turkish Airlines or Etihad, but if the food is decent, then tray service is usually fine with me. As soon as I finished my dinner, the flight attendant cleared the tray and came back with my dessert wine and the ice cream sundae cart. Both the port and my sundae with hot caramel, hot fudge, and almonds were delicious. With dinner over, let's check out the bathroom. The bathroom near my seat was designed to be handicap accessible, and as such, it has more space than usual. Everything looked clean, and there were a few nice amenities. First, a spot cleaner and fabric refresher spray for your clothing, and the same hand lotion and facial mist I'd received in my Amenity Kit. There's also a full-length mirror and a large well-lit mirror over the sink. But my favorite feature, as you might guess, is the motion-activated faucet. I'm so happy these are becoming more and more common in airplanes. I think United does a decent job with Inflight Entertainment. If you're seated in the Polaris cabin, you'll get a 16-inch HD touchscreen display. And wherever you sit, the selection of entertainment options is quite good. They offer movies, TV shows, podcasts, games, music, relaxation videos, and real-time flight maps. The front of the remote acts just like a television remote control. But the back of the remote is actually a game controller. As we saw earlier, the headphones plug in right under the storage locker. I would rate the headphones as just okay, definitely not great, but at least you can use them for the whole flight. Some of the airlines with the nicer headphones collect them an hour before landing, which is not ideal. I settled on a movie called Past Lives, which takes place in both Korea and the US, and it was actually really good. By the way, if you get hungry between meals, head to the galley. You can help yourself to the snacks and beverages. By the time I finished the movie, the cabin was dark and it seemed like almost everyone was sleeping. I used the dial to make my seat flat. It converts into a fully flat 6-foot 6-inch bed. I then arranged all the Saks Fifth Avenue bedding. Once everything was ready, I climbed in and got comfortable. While the Polaris seats look very similar across the different aircraft, the seats in the 777-300ER are actually slightly wider than the others. Between the extra space and the premium bedding, I was thankful to get some real quality sleep. When I woke up, it was less than 3 hours before landing. I took a look out the window, and within a few minutes, I heard the cabin crew begin the meal service. As we were getting closer to our destination, the final meal service of the flight began. Just as with dinner, the crew passed out hot towels beforehand. For the meal, we were given 2 options, croque monsieur or vegetarian chili. I ordered the croque monsieur. When it was served, it came with French fries and a prepackaged brownie. The meal was not very good. The croque monsieur itself was very mediocre and the French fries were terrible. A prepackaged brownie didn't sound appealing to me, so I skipped that. All in all, this meal was a disappointment. Before I knew it, we were approaching Washington, D.C. and expecting to make an early landing. So as we start our descent, how would I rank my time aboard United's 777-300ER? Overall, the flight provided a really good experience. As is usually the case when I fly United, the agents were friendly, welcoming, and helpful. I love the privacy of the odd row windows. I thought the food at dinner was really good, and I was grateful that I slept so well. Honestly, for the sleep experience, the Polaris product is one of the very best in my opinion. The seats lie completely flat, the bedding is fantastic, and United consistently keeps the cabin nice and cool. There were some negatives too, though. I was disappointed by the grime that I found on the wall and on the tray table, and the food at lunch was very underwhelming, to put it mildly. But taking everything into account, I still feel like I had a solid experience. I'm not sure if this is going to make any sense, but one thing I really like about United is that I always feel like I know what to expect. It's certainly not the fanciest hard product or the most luxurious soft product, but it's pretty consistent. And somehow that consistency just feels reassuring to me. Kind of homey, if that makes any sense. In terms of how the 777-300ER compares to the 767-300ER, overall, I thought it was very similar on most fronts, but slightly better due to the extra space. For couples, this plane offers the honeymoon seats, which the 767 does not, and the Polaris seats themselves are slightly wider. By the way, if you're interested in my review of Polaris on the 767, I'll put a link in the description below. Finally, how much did I pay for this flight? As I mentioned before, I booked this flight much later than I usually do, and it was summer, which is already a difficult time to find deals. I was happy when I found this flight on the United website for 80,000 miles plus $65.20. It's more than I like to pay, but not bad given the less than ideal scheduling time frame. Thanks for coming along with me today. Comment below if you have any questions, and if you've experienced United's Polaris class for yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What were your favorite and least favorite parts? Also, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want more travel content like this. It also really helps the channel. Until next time, happy travels.